She walked in silently wearing a simple gray dress across around her neck, and the quiet dignity of someone who never needed to prove her worth, but no one there knew she was Keanu Reeves' mother. To the atheist boutique employee, she was just another poor, out-of-place woman with too much faith and too little money. The disdain began subtly, then turned cruel. But 5 minutes later, the door opened and Keanu Reeves walked in, and when he spoke, the silence was absolute. Oh, and before we continue, tell us, where are you watching this video from? We love hearing from you, and always read the comments. The sound of heels echoed like porcelain, tapping against the boutique's polished floor. Tall mirrors reflected soft lighting strategically placed to highlight fabrics, silhouettes, and price tags. There was no scent of perfume in the air, only the subtle aroma of exclusivity. It felt like entering a temple of luxury, a silent sanctuary where labels replaced prayers. The gold didn't come from relics, but from the hangers holding haute couture dresses, each worth a year's rent. Evelyn liked it that way. The silence, the control, the sophistication. She moved like a living statue, perfect posture, hair tied back in a geometrical bun, neutral makeup, and a tailored gray blazer that matched the sharpness of her soul behind her lined eyes. Her mind operated like a scanner. Clients weren't people, they were archetypes, insecure, new money, bored air, influencer fishing for sponsorships. She could spot them in a glance. More importantly, she knew who was worth being nice to, but Evelyn held a particular disdain for one type of customer: the simple ones, the ones who didn't belong, who wore humility in their clothes, and more often than not a cross around their next. Religion, she saw it as a crutch for the weak, superstition dressed up in poetry to make suffering seem noble. Faith to Evelyn was cheap lacquer like fake leather on an expensive bag that morning as she subtly rearranged the accessories in a display case. The sound of the front doorbell rang. She turned mechanically, preparing the professional smile she had perfected, and then she saw her. The woman walked slowly. She couldn't have been more than 65, but her pace was deliberate, almost reverent. She wore a light gray outfit, simple and brandless. Her hair was tied back in a low bun with no hint of vanity. Around her neck hung a small silver cross. Evelyn took 2 seconds to categorize her: out of place, unfashionable, religious, someone who walked in by mistake, she thought, and almost pied her. Almost. The woman walked as if afraid of disturbing the silence, but her eyes were bright. There was something childlike in the way she admired the dresses, as if each one held a secret. She passed her hand just above a cobalt blue satin gown with crystal embroidery. She smiled, enchanted. Evelyn took a breath. What did this woman think she was doing here? This was a high-fashion boutique, not a church thrift store with the kind of smile that wears its own impatience in silk. Evelyn approached. Good morning, she said with the practiced sweetness of someone who's faking courtesy. Can I help you? The woman looked at her with genuine kindness, the kind of look that doesn't defend itself, it just exists. Oh, I'm just looking, dear. You have such beautiful things here. The word dear echoed strangely in that store. Evelyn held her smile, but venom brewed behind it. We carry very special collections. Some are made to order. Others are one of a kind. They can be a bit particular, she said, casting a downward glance at the woman's clothes. I can imagine, the woman replied gently. My name is Patricia. Evelyn pretended to take note, though she had already labeled her with contempt. Patricia didn't seem to catch the veiled insult. She continued walking slowly, her eyes still bright. She stopped in front of a white dress with intricate hand embroidery. Evelyn barely restrained the urge to remove the gown from the rack. The very idea of this woman even thinking about trying it on felt like sacrilege. This piece, for example, Evelyn said, was designed for a very specific profile: women who know how to wear it. The words were a slap wrapped in satin. Patricia looked at the dress, then at Evelyn, and smiled a calm smile. No irony, no anger, but there was something in it that shook Evelyn, as if this woman, even in that moment of condescension, knew something. Evelyn, didn't faith taught me that you don't have to wear the world to matter in it? Evelyn blinked for a moment. She didn't Know how to respond. That phrase, it was like a needle in her ego, but she recovered her smile. She was just about to deliver another polished insult, something dipped in sarcasm and French perfume when something slipped past her radar. The sound of the door, but as Evelyn forces her practiced smile and prepares to dismiss the woman, she misses one detail entirely. The necklace she despises is about to expose the darkest side of her own soul. Evelyn adjusted her blazer as if it were armor. Patricia was still observing the delicate embroidery on a pale gold dress, her expression lit by quiet admiration. To Evelyn, that looked so pure, so sincerely. Amazed felt almost offensive in that space. She approached again, her steps crisp and rehearsed. That piece is exquisite, Evelyn said, but it's from our signature collection. It may be better to explore the other boutique across the street. They specialize in more accessible selections. The word spilled like honey, but inside there was vinegar. Patricia's eyes lingered on the dress, then calmly turned toward Evelyn. Thank you, but I like this one. Evelyn's smile faltered for half a second. She quickly masked it, noticing two other clients watching. One woman, holding a designer clutch, raised a brow with disdain. Another, a younger man, shifted uncomfortably, pretending to check his phone from behind the counter. Maya watched. She was Evelyn's assistant, early 20s, eager to learn, always careful to stay in the background, but something in her expression had shifted. Her hands froze above a stack of restock price tags. She was watching closely now. Evelyn noticed Maya. Could you bring the Bordeaux gown from the collection room? Evelyn asked, keeping her eyes on Patricia. Maya nodded and walked off, but not before giving a hesitant glance back at Patricia. Alone again with the older woman, Evelyn leaned in slightly. Not everyone understands how to wear pieces like this. It's not just about buying, it's about embodying them. Patricia ran her fingers gently down the fabric, then looked directly at Evelyn. Her voice was calm, but her words cut deeper than silk ever could. Faith taught me that you don't need to wear the world to have value in it. There it was again, that same line, this time spoken with just a hint more strength. Evelyn opened her mouth to respond, but her throat felt dry. Something about that calmness, unshaken, grounded, was making her feel strangely cornered. Her job was to dominate interactions, steer people subtly towards shame or admiration, but Patricia remained untouched, unmoved. The boutique doorbell chimed. Evelyn didn't turn. She assumed it was just another customer, but Maya, now returning with a Bordeaux gown, froze. Mid-step, her eyes widened. Patricia looked toward the door, her entire face softened. Evelyn was about to speak again, ready to deliver her final polished humiliation, when she felt the air shift. The silence wasn't awkward anymore, it was dense. Someone important had entered, and just as Evelyn opens her mouth to deliver the final humiliation, the boutique doorbell chimes. She doesn't even look, but Maya. She freezes. The boutique's air, once filled with unspoken judgments and hushed wealth, turned still, not quiet. Still, like something had stopped moving, even though no one could see it. The bell above the door had just rung, but this time it didn't fade away like before. It seemed to linger. Maya stood frozen, holding the burgundy gown in her hands, her eyes wide and locked on the entrance. She didn't blink, her breath caught in her throat. Patricia turned slowly toward the door, and when she saw who had arrived, her expression changed, but not into surprise. It became soft, familiar, loved. He stood there for a moment just inside the doorway. Keanu Reeves, not the celebrity, not the movie star, just a son. He wore a black coat, simple jeans, dark boots, no entourage, no sunglasses. His face was calm, but his eyes moved quickly, reading everything, everyone. They stopped on Patricia. He walked forward slowly, as if the space itself needed time to adjust to him. The clients in the boutique turned one by one. Someone whispered, another gasped. But Keanu ignored them all. When he reached her, he didn't speak at first. He simply embraced her, arms around her like a fortress. He leaned his head against hers, closed his eyes, and whispered something Maya couldn't hear. The room watched, not because it was Keanu Reeves, but because something sacred had just happened, and none of them could look away. Patricia placed a hand gently on his Back the same hand that had moments. Earlier touched the hem of a dress, but now that hand held something far heavier. Her son's grief, his love, his history. Evelyn hadn't moved, she didn't recognize him, at least not yet. All she knew was that something had shifted in. She no longer controlled the room. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Who was this man? He looked ordinary, yet everything about him silenced the boutique, not because he demanded attention, because he incarnate presence. He turned slowly, his arms still around his mother. His gaze moved through the boutique. He saw the eyes staring, the frozen Maya, the retreating glances from the other clients, and finally he saw Evelyn. His eyes stopped on her, and Evelyn, for the first time that day, felt seen, not admired, not envied, seen as if every layer she wore confidence, judgment, elegance was paper thin. He didn't shout. He didn't demand. His voice, when it came, was quiet, measured, but it filled the room like thunder from a distant storm. She still wears this cross, he said, gesturing gently toward the necklace. His eyes returned to Evelyn, and yet none of you saw anything. Silence, the kind that wraps itself around guilt and won't let go. Maya's hand trembled slightly. The other clients stared down at the floor, at their phones, anywhere but at him only. Evelyn tried to hold his gaze, but something inside her cracked. Something she didn't yet understand. Evelyn still doesn't know who this man is, but in less than 2 minutes, she will wish she had never spoken a single word to his mother. It started as a whisper. One of the clients, an elegantly dressed man in his 40s holding a leather folio, tilted his head slightly, his eyes locked on the man standing beside Patricia, his lips parted. And then, quietly, wait, is that another woman? Nearby, with sharp makeup and sharper eyes turned. That's Keanu Reeves. The room shifted, not physically, but energetically, like the walls had just leaned into. Listen, every head turned, murmurs rose. Like a tide too slow to stop. Evelyn's heart pounded, her throat tightened. No, it couldn't be. She had been standing beside this woman, this nobody, for 10 minutes. She had judged her, dismissed her, humiliated her, and now she's his mother. Someone said aloud. Evelyn felt a bead of sweat break at the base of her neck. She straightened her posture, forced a chuckle, tried to speak over the whispers. Mr. Reeves, I had no idea. We're honored to have you here, I assure you. There's been a misunderstanding. He raised his hand, just a simple gesture, but it silenced her completely. There was no fury in his face, no raised voice, just a quiet, cutting clarity. The way you treat people who believe says more about you than anything displayed in this boutique. His words fell like ice into a still pond, each syllable rippling with weight. Evelyn opened her mouth again, but nothing came. Then came Maya's voice. She didn't raise it, she didn't need to. It wasn't a misunderstanding, Maya said. She was cruel, and it wasn't a mistake. I turned to the young assistant. Mia didn't flinch. Evelyn's eyes darted too. Her Maya, not now, but Maya was no longer on Evelyn's side. Now is exactly the time. Patricia stood in stillness, her hand lightly resting on her son's arm. She hadn't asked for defense, she hadn't cried, she hadn't begged. Her dignity had never left her, and now Evelyn could see. And it burned her. A sound buzzed in her pocket. Evelyn ignored it buzz again. She finally glanced down. It was a message from the store owner. Watching the cameras, call me now. Evelyn's stomach dropped. Of course, the entire store was under surveillance. Cameras in every corner, microphones near the front counter. The owner had seen everything. She answered the call with trembling fingers. I can explain. The voice on the other end was cold. Don't. Keanu turned slightly, now facing the other clients as well. My mother has walked through this world with more grace than most people will ever know. But this, he gestured gently at the boutique around him, this is what people call luxury. If your definition of worth depends on how someone looks, how they believe, then maybe this place isn't selling fashion. Maybe it's just selling shame. No one answered. Some clients picked up their bags and quietly left. One woman shook her head as she passed. Evelyn, if that's how you treat her, imagine the rest of us. Buzz. Evelyn looked down. Owner, this is going to be handled. Expect another call. Evelyn's phone buzzes again, but it's not just a message. It's a reckoning. The owner is on the line, and she's already seen everything. The boutique felt colder now, not because The air conditioning had changed, but because something invisible had snapped. One client, an older woman in a navy pantsuit, spoke aloud, not hiding her contempt. If this is how they treat Keanu Reeves's mother, what chance do the rest of us have? Her words weren't shouted, but they struck harder than a scream. Evelyn stood frozen near the display wall, her hand still holding her phone. Her screen was black now. The call ended. Her ears rang. She tried to steady herself, tried to recapture control. Everyone, I think this situation has gotten out of hand. We want all of our customers to feel, but her voice sounded different now, brittle, hollow. No one was listening. They didn't see a poised employee anymore. They saw a woman. Exposed. Maya stepped forward, not rushed, not dramatic, just steady. She held the name tag that had been pinned to her blouse. She took it off. I can't be part of this. Evelyn's eyes widened. Maya, don't do this now. This is exactly when it needs to be done. Her voice didn't shake. She looked at Patricia, who offered her a gentle nod, as if to say, you did the right thing. No one else had the courage. Keanu looked at Maya, too. Something in his gaze acknowledged her. Not as an employee, not as a girl needing help, as a person who chose integrity. The store owner called again. Evelyn didn't want to answer. She did. You're done, said the voice. No anger, no yelling, just finality. Hand over your keys. Apologize. If you have the strength, then leave. You don't represent this brand anymore. Click. The call ended. She had been erased in less than 10 words. She looked at Patricia, and now the woman hadn't raised her voice once. She hadn't pointed fingers. She had simply been solid, calm, enduring. Evelyn tried. She truly tried. I didn't mean to hurt you. I thought you were someone else. Patricia's expression didn't shift. You thought I was less. That's the difference. Silence then. Softer. My faith doesn't need to be accepted, only respected. Customers began to leave. Quietly, some nodded respectfully to Patricia, a few to Keanu, most ignored Evelyn entirely. The boutique no longer sparkled. It felt like a hollow stage, its illusions crumbling with every step. Toward the door, Evelyn stood there as her world dissolved. Her job, her identity, her armor. No one stayed to comfort her. She wasn't the victim, but as Evelyn prepares to walk away in shame, Maya does something unexpected. She turns to Keanu and asks a quiet question, one that will change her life. The cafe was quiet, not silent like the boutique, but genuinely quiet. The kind of quiet that came from comfort, from soft chairs and warm mugs and low music humming beneath the conversation. They sat at a corner table near the window, the three of them. Maya stirred her coffee slowly, still visibly shaken from the events of the last hour. Her name tag was gone. Her hands were free. Keanu sat across from her, relaxed, yet alert. His presence still as grounded as it had been inside the boutique. Beside him, Patricia cooped a tea with both hands, her silver cross still visible, still unshakably present. Thank you, Maya said at last. Her voice was low but sincere. For everything. You didn't need us, Keanu replied. You already made the right choice before we ever stepped in. Maya looked down at her cup, her throat tight. Still, I don't know what happens next. I left everything behind in there. Patricia smiled gently. Sometimes leaving what hold you back is the first real step. For a few minutes, they just sip their drinks in silence. People walked past the windows outside. Life moved on. Then Patricia spoke quietly, but with that same peaceful firmness she had in the store. I've been humiliated more times than I can count, she said, not just by people like Evelyn, by systems, by expectations, by silence, and still I chose grace. Maya listened carefully. Why? Patricia didn't hesitate, because grace leaves a door open and bitterness slams it shut. Keanu glanced at his mother and then back to Maya. You stood up for someone today that already separates you. For most people, that's character. Maya's eyes shimmered slightly. Keanu reached into his coat pocket, pulled out a small notebook, and scribbled something. He tore the page and slid it across the table. To Maya, I know people, good people. You deserve to work in a place that values, that heart you. To show, call them, they'll know who you are. Maya stared at the note like it was gold. I don't know what to say. Don't say anything. Keanu smiled. Just keep doing what you did today. That's enough. She folded the paper and tucked it inside her bag like a secret. A notification buzzed on her phone. Then Another and another. Maya picked it up and blinked. 20 million views. Keanu raised an eyebrow. The video, someone recorded the moment in the store, she said, showing the screen. It's everywhere. Now headlines, comments, hashtags, people are reacting. Patricia didn't seem surprised. The world likes justice, she said, but it needs humility even more. Maya looked out the window. Her future had just changed, not because of a video, but because in the middle of luxury, someone had remembered what value really meant. But as Maya's eyes light up with hope, Keanu glances out the cafe window and sees something that makes him pause. Something or someone that shouldn't be there. The apartment was quiet, too quiet. Evelyn sat alone on the edge of her designer sofa, still in her boutique uniform. Her makeup slightly faded, her hair no longer perfect. She held her phone in her hand, not to scroll, not to text, just to feel something solid. The screen glowed softly, displaying what had now gone viral. 20 million views, comments flooded the video, thousands of people defending Patricia, praising Maya, quoting Keanu, calling for Evelyn's dismissal. Unaware it had already happened, she turned the screen off. Silence returned, not elegant. Silence, lonely. Silence across the city. Maya stood in front of a new building. It wasn't a boutique. It was a small independent design studio, diverse team, inclusive mission, creativity everywhere. The kind. A place where value came from voice, not silence, from collaboration, not performance. She clutched the folded note Keanu had given her. The woman at the front desk smiled warmly when she entered. "We've been expecting you." Maya smiled back for the first time in a long while. She felt like she belonged somewhere that didn't punish her for having a